these, I don't know if you want to say nasty or nice or whatever, or friendly, these politicians. How do they get these damn stocks? I don't even understand, but I was looking forward to have him on. I know I've been talking about and bringing him up for the past month already, telling everybody about this show, and he's obviously glad to have him on. Chris, well to be here. It's great to meet you.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It's always fun to kind of shoot the shit around the politicians and their trading, and then also ways that the community can kind of get more involved and see if they can make some money alongside them too.
You know what it is? Trading such a big failure rate. Everyone's trying to find, they use this indicator, use that indicator, listen. But sometimes it's like, you know what? It's all about going to the source. I mean, we don't like inside information, but you don't really think the CEO knows what his earnings announcements are going to be. I mean, we saw earnings this week. So here you're talking about the politicians and everything, how do they do it? But just to get to everyone to know a little about you, how did you start this? Like, where did this come about? You're a young guy. You look like, geez, I've been doing it for 35 years, and great traders never stop learning. But how did you start this thing?
Yeah. So we started it probably back in 2020. And I kind of tell a lot of people to set this context of the conversation. Like I'm a co-founder of a startup with the Pelosi tracker, with AutoPilot, et cetera, et cetera. But I also kind of am a personal trader on Robinhood. Like everyone probably on our team, we've all started out with those Robinhood accounts we would talk about, especially during COVID. But I was starting earlier than that. You'd be trading the options. You'd be buying and selling Tesla when that stuff was flying back in 2019, 2020. But the Pelosi tracker and the tracking of the politicians specifically started around 2021, 2022, when we were building out a social investing app for essentially our Robinhood. And I'm sure everyone in this chat, they've all had that conversations. They're in group chats with their friends, they're in Discords. And you would love the idea of just getting notified when your friend makes a trade. Because you have that one friend that you always just want to kind of tail. And then you have that other friend that sends you 1 billion trades. And you're like, just tell me the good ones that you do. So we built out a social layer for our Robinhood, where you can go in, connect your Robinhood, connect your Webull, connect your Fidelity. And it was like a social layer for stock investing. Where I'm going with this was like, that was a great idea that was working during COVID. But what we realized was everyone was wanting to follow the politicians. Mm-hmm. We had a Nancy Pelosi portfolio up on that, and she was trading pretty actively back in 2022 and 2021. Unusual Whales on Twitter was talking about it a lot, corporate quantitative. And then we realized, like, a lot of people keep asking for literally Nancy Pelosi's trades, other politicians' trades, and getting involved and investing alongside them. Let's pivot that social investing layer to actually like an automated trading technology. And that's where AutoPilot came in. That's where we follow the politicians. And then on the social side, we run Pelosi Tracker on Twitter. It's crazy to say I'm 29. I'm young. I started when I was 25. I was a finance major from Villanova. I worked finance in New York for a year, and then kind of had another company. I would never have imagined I'd be a freaking expert in political stock trading by the time I'm 29, but here we are. So it's been a fun journey for sure.
Guys like you. I mean, listen, we need entrepreneurs like you to crack the code like that. Listen, you look at Facebook, and it's not like there's always opportunities for all us young people to look at, to get there. You just got to take chances. You know what I mean? And usually we go to school, and we usually don't go to school for what we go to school for. Or as a career wise, I mean, listen, I went to school for a landscape architect. I mean, look at me. The only landscape I'm doing is taking care of chickens, and I got my own garden in the back. But I figure that I'm not going to be rich doing that, and that's how I got into the trading. But when regarding you, I mean, a lot of people are asking questions. So you started the politician, the Pelosi tracker and everything, and how did you is that public information? I mean, how do you get that, and how do you know what she's in and out?
Yeah.
It looks like Chris's his screen froze up a little bit here. Just got to wait for him to get back up here. Hold on one second, everybody. But so as we'll wait for Chris to get back in, looks like Chris's screen's frozen, so we just got to get him back. Just hold him back. But yeah, with that happen, with Chris, we need to find out and ask him, like Lynn just asking a question, if politicians decided trading, right? Are we hoping that Congress passes legislation and, regarding about them getting in and out of it? We'll see. We'll find out. Hey, we got your back, Chris.
So sorry. I don't know why I'm at my other office in Irvine, and for whatever reason, the Wi-Fi just dropped out. But I heard your question. You're saying, how did it all start? How is it all public information around the politics of the stock trading? So it's kind of crazy, the timeline on it. But to answer your question, first, it's all public via what they call the Stock Act. And before the Stock Act started in 2012. What the Stock Act represents, and this is just the craziness of this thing, it says stop trading on congressional knowledge. That's what the Stock Act means. Before the Stock Act in 2012, they were essentially allowed to do whatever they wanted. It was the wild, wild west of quote unquote political stock trading. But now today, that was passed by Biden and Obama in 2012. What they are required to do is anytime they make a trade, they have up to 45 days to file that trade. And that is them, that's their spouses, and that's their dependents. So if Nancy Pelosi's husband trades on December 31st, she has up to 45 days to file that trade, and then that trade comes out over that time span. She averages around 2 weeks. A lot of politicians probably average around the 2-week delay timeline. But there are some also politicians that don't do it within the 45 days, and then they violate the Stock Act and they get fined $200. So it's not like the biggest fine in the world. Yeah, I know, right? I got a speeding ticket that costs more than violating the Stock Act by a sitting politician.
Yeah, well, if you're here in New York, I mean, you go through a red light, or not a red light, but if you just the cameras, they give you a $200 ticket.
I got one. I had one of those.
You got one of those. So all right. So you're saying that they do the trade, and they have 2 weeks to report that they did that trade.
Up to 45 days. They average around 2 weeks. So they have up to 4 weeks to make that trade, to file that trade.
To make that trade, or they have to report that they bought it. That's why I'm lost. So let's just say they want to buy it. They have to say they want to buy it, or they bought it and then told you, hey, I bought this 2 weeks ago.
Yep, that's right. It's dumb. It's so stupid. I've studied this a lot, trying to figure out, how do we get them banned? Because that's like part of our mission. And what's interesting is I've never been able to find an answer or a reasoning for why there is a delay to begin with. Maybe in 2012 there wasn't electronics, but it's like there definitely was. Like Robinhood was starting around then. Like these things were possible. But yeah, to answer, like if she trades on December 31st, she doesn't have to tell anyone about it until 45 days after that trade.
Don't you feel, I mean, we had so many people in here. We got like, I don't know how many people are in here. We got like over 400 people. You guys really think that's legal? I mean, like, think about that for a second. I mean, is that even like, that's like, me doing inside trade, my own company is a public company, not telling the general public that I'm going to buy more back my stock. You have to report that. But I guess that's why they're in the politician business, right? I mean, so with that said, now we know the game is, and we all know what they're doing. Listen, at the end of the day, Chris, and I know, what's their salary there? 100 grand, 150,000, and trying to, they're not in for the $100,000. You know what I mean? Like, so that's where that comes in. But have you seen any surprising patterns lately at how politicians trade?
So it's tricky because the caveats to share, there's kind of three main variables. One is the stock, two is who bought it, and then three is how much. The problem and the hard part is they don't even have to file the exact amount. They file based on ranges. So it goes from 1K to 15K, that's a range. 15K to 50K, that's a range. 50K to 100K, 100K to 250K, 250K to a million plus. So it's hard to kind of know the bullish and the non-bullish ones because, again, you're right. They don't have they only make 170K. So it's like where they're getting the money to do a lot of these things. The patterns that we're starting to see, though, we see patterns with politicians buying specific and kind of suspicious stocks in that whole world. Markwayne Mullin, he's a big Republican that we follow, and we haven't been able to prove if it's him or a financial advisor or something like that, but he makes a lot of notable suspicious trades where he's buying and selling stocks while sitting on committees that he oversees. And we can get into that. Another part, which is kind of starting to happen, which didn't happen earlier on, is what I'm kind of coining the Pelosi effect, where we started out as social media gurus. We were watching it, we were flagging it for the community. But I think Wall Street has started to catch on. And now whenever Pelosi makes a trade, there's a literally Pelosi bump, a Pelosi effect after she files that trade. And there's 3 examples of this. First, in 2024 early, she bought call options in Palo Alto Networks on February 11th. The stock then tanked after earnings, so she didn't get the good entry. But what did she do? Right when the stock tanked, right at the bottom, she bought more.
Right.
And then 5 or 10 days after that, she filed that new buy, and then the stock flew 10% that day based on her filing. That's where the first Pelosi effect started. The second Pelosi effect started in 2024 around July. She bought shares, or she bought call options in Broadcom. The day she bought call options in Broadcom got a 6% spike. And all the traders say, like, Broadcom's not a small company. That was probably around a $400 billion company. Like,
Right.
normal retail investors buying up that stock, we can't move that. That's a hedge fund. That's Wall Street paying attention to what Pelosi's doing. The last kind of example, and this is what is just really, really crazy, is her most recent filings came out on Inauguration Day, January 20th. She filed a new buy into this small AI company called.
When Trump got elected?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. She, of course, she hides her filings, which is kind of frustrating. She does it July 4th, December 31st. This year was on Inauguration Day. But in that, she made a number of different trades. And we can get into it if we want. But one specifically that caught a lot of everyone's attention was she made 2 brand new buys. One in Vistra and 2 in this smaller AI company called Tempus AI. Tempus AI, $4 billion market cap at the time, IPO'd in 2024, new guy on the block.
Right.
When she made that trade, the stock flew 30% that day. And then it's now up 116% since the day that filing came out. It's not up since it's up around probably like 120 since her trade. Her trade occurred on January 14th. The filing occurred on January 20th. And since that filing day, the stock's up like 120%. That is new. I've never seen that before. And she's also never bought a stock this small before. And my answer to that is, hedge funds are paying attention, in my opinion, now. I just think they are. Retail is definitely paying attention now. We have $300 million autopiloting her portfolio, copying her right now on our app, AutoPilot. So, like, people are paying attention to her, but that's, I think, the new thing that we're starting to keep an eye on around patterns. It's these suspicious trades are starting to pop because I think big money is paying attention to.
What about let me bring up a stock for you today, because this one came up. This is big news that came out today. The stock symbol is DOMH, DOMH. So it just news came out this morning. I mean, the stock has been starting to move about, I would say, let me bring this and share what I'm talking about here. Let me share the screen really quick so traders to see what I'm talking about. Hold on a second. Let me share my screen. So this is the stock right here. Everybody could see it. And you could see right here that this stock started making a big move. It's $1 stock. It's $2, had a big move here. And then you can see this big jump right here. So Don Jr. and Eric just got announced on the board. Okay. So would we've known, I mean, listen, I'm not saying don't take things personal, anyone else. I mean, I don't care what political aisle you are, but like, listen, they're in the business for one reason. They're not here for the salaries. He's not here to be on the board because, I just got it's not a Hunter Biden type of deal, Burisma. Yeah. They're on the board, obviously, for some reason, but the stock went up literally, went from $4 up to 10. And you could see here on the intraday chart, the stock, I mean, obviously news must have came out. It was a $3 stock. It ran all the way to 11. So do you think there's going to news beyond that? Maybe they bought into it a little bit earlier or someone else?
So I just looked up the
anything about them too that come up?
I haven't seen, I'm looking it up right now. I don't see no politician has traded this one. But obviously they now have up to 45 days. So this stock is new to me. I didn't even know about that news. I'll look it up and I'll probably tweet about it from the Pelosi track graphic because this is always interesting stuff for the community. What's interesting is, and this is what if I were a trader, I'd pay attention to this.
There's the news.
We're starting. When did that come out? That came out literally today?
Yeah, that came out today right here. There's the news right here.
Demaria
announced. It was on Benzinga.
Yeah,
registered
interesting.
private placement, and the company also added Don Jr. and Eric Trump to that advisory board.
And so he did that on another stock earlier. Trump Jr. Let me see if I can find that stock.
Was it I think we traders in here, they know which one was it. Was it whatchamacallit? Was it
Let me see if I can find it. I tweeted about it. Because it sounds like DJT. So this was back on look up ticker CLBR. Let's see if it went up.
Yep. Okay.
On January 6th, Donald Trump Jr. partnered with a SPAC to take online firearm company Grab a Gun public.
Which
That's
stock?
CLBR.
Yeah, that was right here. You could see it's not really going anywhere. When was that?
January 16th was the day.
January 16th.
Yeah, so I guess it's kind of
through
January 6th. So it hasn't. Yeah, so that one's gone down. That one I don't think had too much of a pump because it's SPAC, so it's probably a little bit different. I think people are scared of SPACs. But the pattern though, just to kind of mention, is there's clearly two things going on. Trump and Trump Jr. and that whole family, they're getting much more involved in this stuff, from Trump's coin to the CLBR to that news this morning. And two, pensions, and pension might not be it, but schools, pension funds, I believe, are starting to buy into these things as well. So Quiver Quantitative is a great account on X. They tweeted yesterday, and I might butcher this, I can look it up, but I think it was the pension of Florida bought stock in DJT. They put, I think, $4 to $5 million of stock into DJT.
Okay.
There could be a pattern going on where these bigger money pensions, et cetera, states are putting money into these, quote unquote, conservative sided companies. And that may lead to a pump down the line as well. That's a pattern that we're starting to see very early on. But it's something we'll be keeping an eye on the Pelosi tracker as well.
So show us a little bit about what, how you're finding them and how you're tweeting it and showing everyone to get to know a little bit more how everyone can educate themselves, because it's as it being a day trader, we're always finding the next flavor every morning, and then obviously we turn to swing trades, and it's just very interesting to find out that if they're into the stock. I mean, listen, you got a niche. I mean, and if it works, I tell everyone here, you should always try a little bit of everyone's stuff and what works for you. But tell me a little bit about
let me go ahead and I'll share my screen and I'll share with you how the flow essentially of how I kind of wake up every morning. Can you see my screen right now?
Yeah, we're sharing everything.
Cool. Perfect. Yeah. I got 1 million. I'm sorry. What I was looking at this morning was Alibaba. Because Baba with David Tepper, politicians are starting to buy that one a little bit, which we're keeping an eye on because of China and those relationships. But so that everyone knows, this is the account that we run. The Pelosi tracker. I'm the one that makes all the content. This is us kind of tweeting yesterday about David Tepper. Interestingly enough, District Court is one of his top positions. That also is the stock that Pelosi bought. So we tweeted about that. That's how people can kind of stay up to date on that. Now, how we find the trades is we use 2 to 3 websites. The one website we use is a company called Capital Trades, and they're great because they have all the information that comes out. For example, Victoria Spartz, Republican from the House, she bought up to 50K of Simon Property Inc. You can go through the list. Jared Moskowitz is probably trading a ton. He's a big trader. And then on this website, you can see if it's a spouse, you can see how much, and you can see the date and the day that it was filed. And it looks like today people were active. Josh Gottheimer, Byron Donalds.
But they're reporting.
What we do then?
They're reporting this 2 weeks later, right? Is that what they're doing, Chris? 2-3 weeks, it's been the 45.
Yeah, 2-3 weeks.
Way before.
Yeah.
I want to look at some of the stocks that they're in, by the way. While you which ones are what's a big one that they just bought? I want to see as a day trader and see what I see.
See if you can see. So the public probably won't know too much about it unless we tweet about it, because I think they look at us for the majority of it. But if I'm looking to see kind of some smaller names that might be interesting, I've never heard of this one, CLPBY.
Wait, CL what?
CLPBY. That might not even be a stock.
It's a small cap. It looks like more of a it's a spoon ad. I think it's not really seeing too much. I mean, it gapped up this morning, up 3%, but really hasn't gone anywhere.
So then, so that one was bought on January 27th.
That's a penny stock.
Filed.
It's a penny stock.
Is it a penny stock?
It's not penny. I mean, it's a NASDAQ over the counter. I mean, it's $11 stock, but it's not a NASDAQ national.
Yeah, it's not on not in the major
Any
exchanges.
brand names?
Yeah. So any what?
Any brand names? Anything like NASDAQ national? You think you see up there?
I mean, so Moskowitz bought a lot of Goldman. So the other site we use is Quiver Quantitative. They're great. They give you the performance since they traded, which is kind of cool. But so Moskowitz bought a lot of Goldman. Gottenheimer sits on a lot of the top committees, so he's always one we keep a close eye on. I'm not seeing anything too kind of crazy.
Okay.
Looks like he did well here. He sold Merck before. They all sold milk. See, this is what gets interesting. So you got three.
Merck. That's a good one. That's a really good one.
Where I would go with my head is like, this is an interesting one. You got Merck sold by a Republican, Byron Donalds, a Democrat, Josh Gottenheimer, and then another Democrat, Jared Moskowitz. All filed on the same day, all traded around roughly the same time.
What day?
You got the 15th, you got the 16th, and the 27th are the days that they sold. So they sold it. Now, where you then go is you go to Josh Gottenheimer and you say committees. And then you start looking into you taking the next step and being like, okay, they sold Merck. He saves himself 16%. What committees does he sit on? Is there any kind of quote unquote, sketchy things that could go on? He sits on the Committee of Financial Services, the Permanent Selection Committee on Intelligence. So it doesn't seem like he knows kind of too much what's going on there. And then we just kind of go one by one. And that's how kind of over the years I've gotten pretty familiar with who these people are. But that's where I really, really get interested and my ears perk up. When I see that a politician buys a kind of a suspicious stock, Merck is probably a little bit suspicious, to be honest, because of Robert Kennedy going through. That was roughly around the same timeline. And I bet you Merck is down partly because of Kennedy Jr. getting sworn in. I then
that screen so people can see out here really quick, so people can see what Merck looks like. There's actually Merck. You could see it. You could see Merck just basically took a dive from 100 down to 86. That's a pretty big dive right there.
And what day was that? February what?
That day was the 3rd, February 3rd. And it died here, and then it still went lower. I mean, and then you're talking here the 4th, the 5th. I mean, even if he got in late at 90, 98, I mean, it's still down to 86. It's still tanking.
Yeah, and it looks like that was because of earnings. So it looks like earnings came out on February 4th in the morning. But what's interesting to me, where I go with that is like, these politicians, I'll have to confirm and see what committees they sit on, but this is where the conflict of interest comes in. They're the ones voting on the, Robert Kennedy Jr. to get in. He's clearly MAHA, Make America Healthy Again.
Right.
That, like, if you're going to vote, if you know that Kennedy Jr. is going to get approved because you know everyone that's voting on it, what's the obvious thing to do? You go sell the pharmaceutical stocks. It's like, why would you not? He's clearly, like, when that happens, the public will find out and they'll have to go sell off. The algorithms will sell off a little bit. And, is that insider information? You can't prove that. But is it clear, like, if you follow the timeline of Robert Kennedy Jr. will be sworn in because everyone who's going to vote, you guys are behind the doors. You go then sell off the stocks that would take a hit if Robert Kennedy Jr. gets sworn in. He then gets sworn in, you save yourself 20%. Like, that's where the problems happen to me that I gets my blood boiling, because you can't trade everything. Like, if I was going to work in Wall Street, I can't trade. If I'm a consultant, I can't trade.
You can't even trade it. I know so many people. I live here and I have so many, I live on Long Island where all these top traders live, and close to the city. And a lot of them are in, wherever, accounting firms, lawyers. And there's a conflict of interest too. And it's not even that their wives, their kids, they can't buy anything. So, it's it's insider trade. And let me tell you something. You screw the government, they'll come after you. I mean, you better off killing somebody than steal money from them. They don't screw around. They really don't take it very, very seriously. And they'll go back 7 years, or further. I mean, I don't even think there's I don't even think there's any statute of limitations to that too. But I mean, they're getting away with it. I know people are getting really angry here. They're saying like, how they get away with it, this and that. I said, listen, I mean, hopefully, I don't know. Trump's looking to get rid of that. I mean, a lot of people in there, but listen, Republican, Democrat, they're all part of cahoots with it.
Yeah,
I mean, all doing it. But don't get angry. I tell everyone, Chris. I said, listen, it's a game. Just got to be able to know how the game's being played. Yeah, they're all crooks and this and that and whatever. But you know what? You just can't sit back and just see them do it. You could do it yourself. If everyone knew that they were getting into COVID, I mean, I know you were very active back then, probably saw that all happen. I mean, just on COVID, I mean, they knew they were going to shut down the government. They knew they were going to shut down the country. They knew. They all sold. And you saw, and
it was even worse. They all sold. Like Richard Burr did it. He sold. He literally sold. He said on the head of the Senate Intelligence Committee, he sold. Went and told his donors that COVID's worse than it is. Wrote an op-ed in the Wall Street Journal though 10 days before that, telling the American public like, don't worry, everything is fine. He sold. Called his brother-in-law. His brother-in-law sold. And then the stocks tank a week later. He gets investigated by the DOJ and the SEC, cleared of his filings. He goes, retires, goes off into the sunset. And it's just like with our stuff, like we are very clear. We do sell a product, AutoPilot, that allows you to copy them, invest alongside them. But I'm trying to put myself out of a job. Like I want these politicians banned from trading so that I can go on to the next part of my life with what we're building. But yeah, to be clear, we're trying to get them banned. And we think that it creates a ton of kind of distrust in society. If you can't trust the politicians, you're not going to look at Doge. It's like whether Doge is right or not about half of their things, the first principle distrust is already not there. Therefore, the whole thing, you don't know what to believe. And you're skeptical about everything. There needs to be trust instilled back into the institution so that we can take a step forward with it. And to your point, sorry, I'm ranting here, but they both do it. Trump's there's arguments to be made that with Elon being very involved, Trump's kids being put on the board of companies and the stocks fly 10%. That was Nancy Pelosi's kids. You still got to call it out. So we're hoping that President Trump pushes towards this. I think he would if the topic does get big enough. But there's conflicts of interest across the board. And it's just a simple kind of put them all in blind trust, make them all do it. Put yourself in the ETFs. If you got $5 million in the SPY, you're probably still going to want America to go well because you want the SPY to go well. Of course. There's solutions to this.
They're guilty on both sides. I mean, you just pointed out they're Republicans, they're Democrats, are all of them. You know what I mean? And they have to file. But you're talking about Doge. I want to go off to a tangent on political stuff and stuff like that. I want to really focus on your product because you basically dissected it. You figured it out, and and we're going to tell everybody if anybody wants to sign up for his subscription or even just follow him on X. We're going to give you his link and you should follow it. And it's very educational, and it kind of just not only teaches you not to how's this stuff going on, but it is going on and it's going to go on. And it's going to be really kind of hard to get what we call the swamp to, get the swamp out. But you know what? You don't want to put yourself, I know you're looking to put yourself out of a job, but listen, there's always going to be something else that you're going to do and figure it out. Yeah.
There's a lot if you think about which industries are ripe for disruption, two instantly come to my mind. One is the money management space. We don't have access to hedge funds. We kind of try and trade on our own. We work with people like you guys, try and kind of make a living trading. But there's a lot of rich people out there that have access to a lot of things that we don't. There's disruption there. And the other disruption obviously is in the pharmaceutical, which the Maha movement is going after. We have much bigger aspirations with AutoPilot. Instead of copying Nancy Pelosi's delayed trades are cool. But, it's at the end of the day, we want to revolutionize the way money is managed. And we think that there's a ton of, call them sleazy, lazy financial advisors out there that are charging 2% AUM on $1 million retirement just to put you in the S&P 500. Right. they're just going, they're golfing and collecting their 2%, saying don't worry about it. When in reality, it's like they just have you in the low cost ETF doing nothing. And there's a ton of good financial advisors out there for sure. But we are trying to kind of go into that space in the broader sense with AutoPilot, where you can build out a marketplace to choose people to follow. So like if you had a portfolio up, you can call it a beginner portfolio. You can call it a swing portfolio. You could have it as your own portfolio. People from your community can go in and put some money alongside you and sleep at night saying like, okay, you know, this is his money. This is my money. I'm following what he's doing. I could, if he goes up, great, we're winning. If he goes down, I could sleep at night saying like, okay, at least he's losing too with me because my money is following his actual trades. There's a trust and transparency built into this that we're trying to create a new category for in the money management industry.
Well, why don't you show us, Chris? Show us your page and stuff like that, and show us how, like, you know, if anybody wants to get involved, like how you basically you show where you find it. And listen, I tell everybody, you know what? You want to go cut your grass, you gotta buy a lawnmower, and this is what I do. But there's some people like, and they do it, and like, you know what? I got to do this, I got to do that. It's still not the same. I know you gotta, you're the chef. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'll give you the
100%.
or you know what? I'll just come and I'll cook it for you. So show them how you actually cook it up for them.
Yep. Yeah. And I just saw a question. We're not only on X, we also have a big Instagram account called the Politician Trade Tracker, which has like 900K. If you look up Politician Trade Tracker, you'll see my face on all the on all the videos. But so you see my screen right now?
Hold on. Let me share.
I can walk you through roughly how cool. I'll walk you through kind of the two different things. So it's a little bit tricky because we are only app based right now. So we're on the App Store. It's called AutoPilot. You can download it. You can check it out right now, and I can walk you through how it all works. But long story short, let me go to our website because it kind of walks you through. We have built the first way to take your stock portfolio, whether it's a Robinhood, whether it's a Webull, Fidelity, and you can connect it to our platform and then allocate some money to automatically invest in someone else's portfolio and do whatever they do. It's nice because you don't have to transfer money to us. It stays in the comfort of your own brokerage account, and it happens simultaneously with your other stocks. So if you are trading, you know, Robinhood, you then can follow a pilot is what we call them, and they buy Robinhood. That Robinhood that your pilot buys will live alongside the Robinhood that you personally own. It's a very convenient way to do it. But set the context, it's 3 simple steps. You download the app, you confirm whichever portfolio you want to follow. And we got, you know, Pelosi tracker. We have the 13F filings of the hedge funds. We have an AI portfolios launched and started by a PhD from Wharton who makes the AI algorithms. We now have partnered with Unusual Whales. He has portfolios up there, Quiver Quantitative, etc. So now you can go in and you can check out the marketplace of different strategies you want to invest alongside. Once you kind of find the person you want to follow, you then connect your personal broker. And this is, I think, like what's really, really cool. Again, it's everyone has the broker that they want. They don't really want to create yet another one, transfer it, do the taxes, etc. So we built out the API integrations with the Weebulls, the Charles Schwabs, the Robinhoods of the world. Fidelity and Schwab are in beta, so it's still a little bit spotty with them. But Robinhood, Webull, we're going to have public.com soon. You can just simply connect your broker, and then you allocate the money and do whatever they do. So if you want to have a $20,000 Robinhood account, you connect the broker, you can select, say, the Pelosi tracker. And then if you want to allocate 10,000 of that $20,000, you simply put in 10 grand, you swipe up, and then your 10 grand automatically does whatever Pelosi does based on the fractional shares of that portfolio. And the way that it looks on the app is pretty straightforward. I'm going to show you the back end, and this is all public. You guys can all check this out on your own. This is what we call the pilot portal, and this is us tracking Pelosi's filings. It's not her actual portfolio. It's the date of her filings, which is crazy to say, but since the filing dates of her different stocks, she's up 52%. And we're confirming all this performance because it gets tricky, again, because of her not having to be required to tell you the exact amount. So these are based on ranges. But you can see here, you'll see this in the AutoPilot app too, but NVIDIA, it's up 88%. She's bought that 3 separate times over the past year and a half. She owns Google, Palo Alto Networks, like I said. Here's the Tempest AI stock. It's up 97%. Broadcom, CrowdStrike, et cetera, et cetera. And this is where you kind of see we have around $380 million invested alongside her. 100,000 people are doing it. And that's like the general gist of it. These are the different pilots that we have. So like we got a politician named Debbie Schultz. She's crushing it. Just crazy.
Who's in it?
She's doing well. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, she's doing well. The other one is
how many
Crenshaw.
politicians are you tracking?
Look at this. Crenshaw's up 416% since he bought Meta, since he filed the Meta buy. And to be fair to Crenshaw, his portfolio is small. He was only buying like 15K. But we are tracking around, we personally track like 4 or 5. But Unusual Whales, a lot of people, you guys might know who he is. He tracks a lot of the other ones. So he has portfolios like Marjorie Taylor Greene, who's been doing pretty well. Yeah.
But just dying when you bring up these people, like, and like you would think that they're all part of this thing. Like, my God, question right here. Minister on YouTube's asking questions. So you don't care about the actual politicians? Is in trading? It's probed broker on his behalf that doesn't come into it.
Yeah, I think what they're asking is like, again, going back to those variables, one of the variables is it a kid, is it a spouse, is it a dependent, or is it the actual politician? The unfortunate reality is like we can't prove. The only way to know if it's the person or a financial advisor representing that politician is if they publicly talk about it. A lot of them stay silent, I think, because they just don't even want to bring up the topic to begin with. But there's conspiracy theories out there, and I get them. It's like, look, even if you ban even if it's not the politician trading and it's the financial advisor trading for them, what's stopping the politician from just calling them and telling the financial advisor to do whatever they do? And then the politician then goes public and says, hey, it's not me trading, it's a financial advisor. When in reality, it's like, yeah, but you told your financial advisor what to do. You can't prove it, which sucks. There's no transparency into it. But that is something that gets brought up a lot.
Let me ask you this. I'm going to throw a couple politicians out to you. Is Bernie Sanders have one?
Nope. Bernie doesn't trade. No stocks. No stocks that we see.
AOC.
No stocks.
No stocks.
She's also, to be fair to her, she's one of the more vocal politicians out there on the ban. She has pushed multiple bills. She pushed the first bill this year to get them banned. She supports them.
JD Vance?
JD Vance, we have a portfolio of. He's interesting because he used to be a venture capitalist, so he has a lot of stocks.
I think he worked for Palantir.
Yeah, he worked for Founders. No, he didn't work for Founders. He works alongside Peter Thiel, who's the founder of Palantir. Right. But he was where is he? He was doing pretty well. But to be fair to him, he owns a lot of ETFs. So the majority of his portfolio for sure is ETFs. He owns Rumble, or at least he at some point he owned Rumble. He owns a ton of Bitcoin, and then he owns this OILK. But the rest of his portfolio is pretty. Like if a politician's portfolio looked like this, I think all of our lives would be much better.
Right.
Dow Jones, SPY, QQQ make up 60% of your portfolio.
Who's got the worst portfolio?
Who's we don't really track the people who are the worst. Unusual Whales has an account that has it. And, yeah, Marjorie Taylor Greene typically would struggle. Top 5? Yeah. Pelosi's up there. Crenshaw's up there on our side. Debbie Schultz is always up there. Ron Wyden, he's up there. He was launched by Unusual Whales. Josh Gottenheimer's up there. And then David Rouser, I think in 2024 was the number 1. This performance is that wouldn't tell the whole story because we're only legally allowed to share since we track them. We can't backtest data. We don't want to do that. So we start from the day that we start tracking them. He did really well though because of this ETF I think called Jets in 2024, I believe.
Okay,
and we can confirm that, but he's doing pretty well too. But it's funny. We also got this guy. Oh, you traders should know. We got Inverse Kramer up there, and he's crushing it too.
Doesn't he suck? I mean, hey, who's going to beat the worst call? But he looks like he's doing pretty well though.
This is the inverse. This is literally the opposite of whatever he says for the most part. And we use different data technology, so you can't get it perfect. But he was bullish on Hood probably like 2 or 3 months ago, and it's up 45%
Yeah,
since
Hood's
he's
doing
been
really
bearish.
well.
Yeah, he was bearish on Hood. Sorry, and then he was
So
up 45%.
Kathy Woods is bullish on Robinhood
I'm a
also.
big believer in Hood. So we don't have a formal partnership with Robinhood, but we integrate with them and we see, just our data. Robinhood's they're, I think, the leaders in this whole, millennial world of investing.
Uh-huh.
That's my personal largest holding too. I really like that stock.
How do you feel about Webull, just out of curiosity, compared to
Webull?
Yeah, Webull.
Webull's good. I think they're trying to enter the space and enter the conversation a little bit more. They were initially built for traders, and they didn't focus on simplicity. We have a working relationship with them. We're going to be launching a formal partnership, hopefully with them soon. But I had a Webull for a little bit, but then I just used Robinhood because it's just so simple. I put my cash in it. I'm a Robinhood Gold user. I'm a Robinhood Gold card user. Webull is good though, but they definitely are second fiddle to Robinhood for sure.
What
And we
about
see it in the data too.
What about Schwab's online platform and everything else? It's just I know that Webull and Robinhood probably a lot more simpler to use, probably.
Yeah, Schwab is just a different animal because just their account sizes are just frankly way bigger. They got older people, they got more formal, they got less traders, more holders. They do a ton of custodians, so they have a lot of retirement accounts.
Right.
Robinhood bought PMR Solutions, I think is what they call it, to get into that space to, I think, take on custodians. But Schwab is good, and Fidelity is probably the biggest accounts that we see. But Fidelity is those two brands are kind of old school, kind of adversarial to technology, which I get. You want to be less risky for your clients and stuff like that. Robinhood's on the forefront. Like they're breaking down walls. They tried to launch sports betting, sports betting contracts. Didn't work, but they're at least trying. Schwab and Fidelity, I don't think I'll ever do that anytime soon, for sure.
So Chris, so tell us a little bit, just really quick, if anybody wants to sign up or get into your tracker and everything else, how do they go about your AutoPilot and everything else, and or just start following you? I mean, on your Instagram and all that good stuff.
So probably the first thing to start is probably our Twitter. So on Twitter, again, this is the Pelosi tracker. So this was me finding that CLBR. This was Trump Jr. going on January 6th. But probably the easiest places to find us are on Twitter and on Instagram. So on Twitter, we're the Join AutoPilot page. You can go in and you can download the link through kind of any of the stuff. What's also interesting is, again, we partner with Unusual Whales. So Unusual Whales has portfolios up. You can find these portfolios through people like this, where you can go in, download the app on AutoPilot, or download the AutoPilot app. And in that app, you'll see the different options, which will show up here. You can find us also on Instagram via joinautopilot.com. This is the account that we call the politicians out on. It's called the Politician Trade Tracker. Again, it's pretty big. This is another stock that's interesting, Viasat. If you traders out there, it's been very volatile, but Davey Schultz has been an owner in it. You can follow us there, and then also the typical Join AutoPilot accounts.
I'm just dying right here. All these people that you're bringing up here. I mean, we all know Pelosi is Pelosi. I mean, but Schwartz and Crenshaw and all those, I wouldn't even think of it.
Yeah, 100%. And this is what I'm saying. That it's bigger than people think. And Crenshaw, to be fair, he hasn't traded since 2022, but he's very vocal about it. He's against the ban, which is a wild take. But Debbie's never said anything, and she continues to crush it. But yeah, it goes beyond just Pelosi. It's not just Pelosi. Pelosi is the poster girl for it, the poster woman. But
just because she was head of the Congress and stuff. All right.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, you know what, Chris, it was just great having you on here. The audience loves it. Great. By the way, everyone, this will be recorded. If you missed it, we're going to make some really great highlights for it. So you get to watch the great highlights, but just please make sure you go out there and join Chris and join AutoPilot. Try it out. I mean, worst thing could happen. At least you educate yourself a little bit more. Maybe you'll decide who to vote for next time. But at the end of the day, we're here to make money. And, let's, if there's
and also, like, to be clear, you don't have to get started. Like, we're not going anywhere. We're going to be getting more politicians out there that you can get notified. So, like, we're also just building like an easy, simple way to track this stuff just for the common good. We don't make any money through that. The only way we make money is through automated of the trading that you subscribe to. But also, like, the other part is, like, if you know any kind of people, long-term investors out there that you'd be interested in investing alongside, we're creating a platform where people can launch their own portfolios. And we're starting off, with the unusual whales, the big names. We have more people we haven't announced with yet. But to be clear, like, you're investing alongside them and they're making a revenue split for their services, for their transparency. And then you get write-ups about those stocks. So there's a double side to this, where people out there that are good traders that want to kind of see if they can make us some passive income, they could launch their portfolios on AutoPilot, and then communities can come in and invest alongside them, and they keep a split of that. So we'll be launching with more and more people soon that get into dividend investing, crypto investing, ETF investing, things like that. So we're excited with where the trajectory of what AutoPilot is. And I see we get this a ton. We are only USA based for now. Canada, we're hoping soon. But we're a registered investment advisor, and regulation's tricky up there with Wealthsimple.
Very tricky. So what you're saying is that people could start a mutual fund, and then people with Trustpilot could basically invest in that, into that trader that will raise money and so on. You make a percent of it because you have that platform that does it. That's really interesting. So
it's two things. Yeah, it's a hedge fund in a box. Like, Bill Ackman started out with $1 million. We got 8 or 9 people already with $1 million plus following them. And it's like, if you're good, people will come and continue to follow you, and if you can write up high quality alpha stock reports, people will continue to trust you and continue to follow you. And the other part, and this is what I get even probably more excited about, is like, people can launch their own strategy ideas. So Unusual Whales, for example, he has a portfolio up that tracks. He was like, all these companies are donating to Trump's inauguration fund. What if we created an index of the top companies that did it? And it includes Robinhood, Hims, Amazon, Google, Tesla, obviously. And he now has a portfolio up called the Trump Inauguration Fund, and it tracks which companies do that. That's sort of like an ETF in a box, if you think about it. But also, it's without the whole regulation stuff. It's still all squeaky clean. But
John on YouTube is just asking,
cool.
Does it integrate to Schwab?
It does, but it's a private beta. So, like, it works, but there's a little kind of, you have to manually approve of the trades. So it's not the automated part of the trading, I believe, but it does work. You'd be able to go in and put some money behind it. I wouldn't recommend throwing your retirement right now. Like, it's just, we'll get there, but throwing in a couple grand, it for sure would work. So we do integrate with Schwab, and we also integrate with Fidelity on the same level.
All right. Well, Chris, thanks for coming. I know you're a busy guy, and like I said, it's been a pleasure, and a great time to learn some great content from here, and look to have you back again and see what the next step is going to be. All right.
Yeah, 100%. Let me, if any trades, I'll give you my number. If Pelosi makes new trades, if any big things come out, I'll send it to you, and we'll see what the traders are thinking for sure.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. All right, everyone. Well, thanks for listening. And don't forget, tomorrow we got Jay Trader. And then at the end of the week, we're going to have one of the largest online websites for people with an app regarding if you want to, get your kids in football and you want to get some scouting. It's going to be another interesting one. Another great entrepreneur is going to have on here. So thanks a lot, everybody. And thanks for listening. And we'll